The problem is, with a drug company, they carry out a 10-year test, experiment, to see if the drugs are safe. After a review, after 10 years, if they are deemed safe, then they go out to the general public. Or any food or drink manufacturer, anybody, they have to show this is safe before it goes out to the public. Now what they've done in the case of Wi-Fi and phones, they've turned the tables. So rather than the industry having to show it is safe, we have to show it isn't. And that's a very, very difficult thing to do. You see, because we know up until, when did I speak to the Welsh Parliament? I think it was 2004, I think. Up to 2004, we know that there were 200 schools with cancer clusters, breast cancer clusters, all sorts of things. But if you say we are now going to take the industry to court, you have got to prove that the microwaves caused all of those cancers. Statistically, you could probably show it, but what you've got to do is show that the microwaves caused all of these cancers inside the body. And you have to take the industry to court. Now, I have represented 2 billionaires, okay, that have wanted to take the industry to court. And they said, well, what's involved? And I said, well, you have to get all of your scientific witnesses, book the court, and one of them, one of the billionaires, the industry came back with a reply saying, that's fair enough, you can take us to court. Our part of the trial will take about 3 years. We will be calling 1,500 experts, and this all goes on your bill. We will be calling about 1,500 experts. We will need 3 years in court. Now, court costs in this country £100,000 a day. You know, you can't. There isn't enough money anywhere to take this industry to court, and that is the problem. You see, you have to take the industry to court to prove that they are causing cancer, and it can't be done. Legal aid wouldn't cover it. There is nobody with enough money. Governments don't have enough money to take this industry to court.
If I make a little jump from where we talked yesterday,
yeah,
when we talk about all the control and surveillance and why governments are not doing anything. When I go back to 2003 in Denmark, when we started the debate, and see how it all processed from there,
yep.
You know, we took them on, they were sleeping on the beds actually because it was in the summer holidays.
Yeah.
And the chief editors were on holiday, so the journalists, they wrote and wrote and wrote. It came out in all the papers.
Yep.
And then suddenly all were muzzled,
yep,
very fast. But what really is obvious there is actually the government and the government scientists, they came straight forward and said, no, this is safe, and this is, even though there was a government scientist saying,
yep,
this is not safe.
Yep.
That shows that even from 2003, the governments have been controlled by something else.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yep,
the governments are probably run today by the mobile phone industry, more or less.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when you think the government actually needs the mobile phone industry, because the government can now keep track on all of the people. You know, it's a government's dream, this. You see the police, the secret services, they can, there are different systems that can get into anybody's computer. All the private stuff, they can go through the code words, everything. So nothing is safe. They can go to all the medical records, all the financial records, everything, and it's all stored.
And you know, that also means when we say, oh, the mobile phone, we had the boom in Denmark, the mobile phone boom in 1997, where it was sold for 1 krona, and you know, where you got it almost for free.
Yeah.
And that should really have put the alarm bell on in people's heads, because we have never got a DVD player for £1.
Yeah.
Never. But you know, when that means when they have this agenda, you can say it has been planned for 10, 20 years before, because they have thought, how can we make a system that can surveil everyone? You know, it's not just something that comes overnight. It's been planned for a very long time.
Oh yeah, I mean, in the forces, in the 60s, they knew then that, because the military had microwave, they knew then that they caused brain tumours and illnesses.
Yeah.
So, I mean, nothing is new, and it's all published, so nothing is new. Maybe it's a way of controlling world population, but maybe they were just too stupid to think, hang on, this is going to affect the genetics of the children. And maybe this is something they've not looked into, is that quite a large percentage of children can now be born autistic and have genetic problems. Maybe that's something they've not thought about, but of course, when you've come this far saying it's safe, how do you now stop and say, no, it isn't?
Yeah, it takes a backbone.
You can't.
Yeah.
You know, the lawsuits alone, which is maybe this case in America, the lawsuits alone, if we win this case in America after Christmas, proving that Wi-Fi in school is dangerous and harmful to children, all of the children in America who are claiming illness from Wi-Fi, there will be lawsuits. And I think the entire Wi-Fi industry will collapse. I think the shares will plummet and the entire industry will collapse. And I think the same with Tetra. If I can get to court and I can win this case in June, the Tetra itself, the whole industry will collapse. The shares will go, there will be lawsuits, and Tetra will go. So next year we may see the last of Wi-Fi and the last of Tetra, and then other people will start asking questions. Well, hang on, if Tetra and Wi-Fi, what about this?
It has to be next year. When we talk about mobile phone towers next to the schools, it has been. I had a mobile phone in '93, and the first time I put it to my ear and I passed the tower and it says, when updating, something inside me said, this is not right.
No.
And every time since, when I saw a mobile phone tower, the word Nazi came into my mind. It just, something reminded me of something else. And when we think about Professor Santini from France, who passed over in 2007 I think, or 8, he was almost excluded from his own lab because he was telling the truth about mobile phone towers. When we see about the symptoms he talked about in 2001 that are from the mobile phone towers, which confirm everything you say, but he's also here talking about lowering of libido.
Oh yes, that will come,
And when we see what is going on between men and women today, and how awkward everything is, and how perverse everything has come, it seems like you can say the love force in people is being removed. People are not so humane and loving as they used to be.
Yeah, I'll come back to one of your earlier comments there, when you said Nazi experiment.
Yeah.
Now, I read a lot, and I have read documents going back to, or interpretations of documents going right back, BC, hundreds and hundreds of years BC, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Ptolemy, who's a Greek scientists living in Egypt, BC. I've read a lot of papers and I've read right up to date. I'm a scientific advisor, I think, to, at the moment, 5 organisations, which means they send research papers to me, I read them, I rewrite them into what I call simple language, I send them back and they publish them to the people that read that are not scientists.